Hi, everybody, and welcome to TFT Tarot for Today, Divine Dabblings with Oberon and Banshee. And this is my unboxing video for the exciting new deck, Agatha All Along, based on the Disney Channel character, which was spun off of a previous Disney Marvel characters miniseries, or they call that a limited series. Scarlet Witch, I think that was called WandaVision, yeah. And Agatha was the character who was behind it all along, hence the name of the deck, which was based on her show. So I'm here to tell you that it's a pretty cool deck. I like it a bit. I can't wait to really start using it. I'm going to show the box it comes with, as usual these days, a pretty nice little box, kind of weighty there. Agatha All Along. There's, of course, the nice, not too shabby guidebook. And I think what I really liked about the deck, its conception, is that it is so, as you'll see in the cards, if you are aware of the series at all, it really, they keyed in the tarot cards into the various scenes or adventures that actually happened in that series. So there's a tie in there. There's also a little bit of a guide in terms of how this path works. I believe specifically that there are things about the minor arcana suits that are sort of like the pathways too. It's a good booklet. It really is very illustrative. I think I heard there were some other unboxings where they didn't favor the artwork that much, but I think the artwork, like I said, it really ties in well with the concept of the storyline, especially when it talks about what the characters are and what their motivations are and things like that. As any good guidebook, it has some unique readings in the back, as well as some extraneous other thoughts to think about, how to ask the question or how to come up with the question, not just having a question, but how to decide what is the question. So it's all real good. We're going to do that run through then. And I believe the major arcana sort of takes place in the actual timeline of the major arcana. Like the first card is sort of the beginning of Agatha's plot line. And so that card is the Fool. And I had a feeling I was going to have the colors washed out. I wonder what I can do with that. Let's see if that helped anymore. We'll just go with that, I guess. So that's the Fool. And of course, in some depictions of the Fool, there is that idea that they're without a care, without abandon, and that's pretty much how the series started, from the denouement of the previous series that sort of explained what happened to Agatha. It's a long story, so I'm not going to get into it. Another central character uh, in the series was uh, a boy, teenager actually, who was first called Teen, and then sort of began the trappings of the magician, and was in fact one of Wanda's children from the previous series. It's a long story, but it's a very well placed idea behind the magician being that character. um, because it's not the physical child, it was actually the soul of the child which Wanda actually conjured into being, but possibly with help from Agatha or because of Agatha's own business. There are members of a coven involved in this, and some of them are taken also from the Marvel comic book universe. For example, the previous character Tommy Wiccan is that same character, a super character with magic, who is the child reincarnated soul of the Scarlet Witch Wanda. So this is Jennifer Kale, who's probably the most advanced witch in the series, and that's why she's the High Priestess. The Empress, I think that character's name was Alice, and they weren't really a witch at all. Alice had sort of assembled witches based on talent and situations, and this character actually was just basically a holdover from the previous series again, who was one of the bespelled town residents in the elaborate plot that was WandaVision. And I don't remember that character's name. They were Asian American character. The Emperor, there's a backstory in the series about the Witch's Road, and the whole thing ends up being sort of an illusion that is differing from what you thought you're going on. So it was very cleverly handled, but this character had a lot to do with uh, creating that illusion in the mythos or lore of the witches of this world. Okay, the Hierophant was another character, and I believe this was the character played by Patti LuPone, who's well known in musical opera, Tony Awards kind of situations, Broadway. And so she played the Hierophant, and she read tarot cards specifically. And I think some of her tarot cards might have resembled some of these, or there might have been similarities. All right, so the Lovers. And that's Agatha with a character who is described as her previous lover, but is actually kind of a representation of death. The Chariot, those are Agatha's feet upon the Witch's Road. Strength, the Hermit, the Wheel of Fortune, Justice. Yes, and this was the part about Agatha and the delivery or the pregnancy that she had herself. And there's a subplot based on one of her children, I guess, or like, yeah, it was her child, who seems to figure into the Marvel comic stories to the Hanged Man, which of course is about sacrifice and how we accept that. Okay, and this was the character Rio, I don't remember the last name, Vidal, Rio, who was the physical representation of death. And in the series was played by Aubrey Rose, who's a fantastic actress, but also a cult actress favorite, or maybe not so much cult anymore. There's Temperance, and Teen inscribed a magic circle they were in. The Devil, the Tower, the Star. This was the part that described how Teen was born, um, how their spirit from the child in the WandaVision story went into um, another child, a teenager's body who had past life. It's kind of a weird part of the storyline. The moon, the sun, judgment. And there's a flashback to Agatha and apparently her mother and or other people she knew in Salem. Of course, they tied it into the Salem witches and a bad thing that happened. All right, the world, pretty cosmic. All right, so now we are on the major arcana, and they put them in a different order, so I'm going to have to go through their order. Cards are a little sticky too, so but there's the King of Wands, the Queen of Wands, the Knight of Wands, and a lot of these are kind of representations from the series, specific scenes or posings of the characters. The Page of Wands, then we go down to Ace of Wands, Two of Wands, Three of Wands, Four of Wands, the Five of Wands, the Six of Wands, the Seven of Wands. And like I mentioned, these are all kind of adapted from the actual series. They are scenes or representations of scenes, things that might have been mentioned, but a lot of them look familiar to me as part of what they went through in their trek down the witch's road. That was the major plot or plot device, narrative device. Ten of Wands. Right, we're on swords now. That was the king, the queen, the knight, the page, ace, the two of swords, the Three of Swords, and that's Agatha in the picture. Agatha had to confront a lot of truths about herself, things that she was hiding even from herself, and that was some of her own inner trauma and inner things, her relationship with her parent and also with her child and everything else that had gone on. So it's a pretty good series, and some of that's reflected in how they, design these cards. Like I said, I think it was a good way of finding, a relative quality of a card that was represented in a scene. That's the four, the five, six, the 7, the 8, oh, that must have been the 9. That was the 9, Blake. That's the 8. I did. I'm so sorry about that. I did show that before. The 8, the 9. I guess I'm just goofy tonight. There's the 10. Ooh, that doesn't look good. All right. King of Pentacles. Start off that one. The Queen of Pentacles. These are scenes that look near the climax of the series. The Knight of Pentacles. The Page of Pentacles. The Ace. The 2. Three of Pentacles. 4 of Pentacles. 5 of Pentacles. 6 of Pentacles. 7 of Pentacles. 8 of Pentacles. 10 of Pentacles. All right. King of Cups. Queen of Cups. Knight of Cups. The Page of Cups. Ace of Cups. 2 of Cups. Three of Cups. 4 of Cups. 5 of Cups. 6 of Cups. 7 of Cups. 8 of Cups. 9 of Cups. That's the Wish card. And the 10 of Cups. So, I hope you will enjoy this deck if you decide to get a hold of it yourself. I was pretty pleased with it, and like I said, I can't wait to start working with it. I'm probably going to use it very soon. Um, most of the symbology is close enough to Rider-Waite with its own embellishments from the TV series, so the guidebook is helpful. And I think it was a good labor of love by people. I mean, they could have went with, different art styles or different situations to um, make it glossier. I don't think it was super expensive, but it was a Disney product, so it's probably at least mid-20 range, up to 28 or so. If I get that information, I'll try to put that into the video here. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.